Today's topic is the plural forms of nouns. In other words, what you do when there is more than one of something. In English, this is often quite simple. Add an S to the word and you're done. So book becomes books in the plural, pencil becomes pencils, the singular form eggplant becomes the plural form eggplants. However, there are some exceptions in English. Person becomes people, foot becomes feet, and so on. But generally, it's quite simple in English. Unfortunately, it's a little more complex in German. The first thing you need to know about plural nouns in German is that every single noun, no matter its original gender, will take the article die in its plural form. For example, das Buch, originally a neuter noun, will become die Bücher. Der Stuhl, a masculine noun, becomes die Stühle. Die Frau, which is a feminine noun, becomes die Frauen. In other words, the article doesn't need to change because it's already die. Der Tisch, again a masculine one, would become die Tische. And another neuter noun, das Fenster, would become die Fenster. Notice what has happened to these nouns to become plural forms. Besides changing the article to die, Buch has added an umlaut on the U and an ER at the end of Buch to become Bücher. Stuhl has added an umlaut and the letter E to become Stühle. Frau added an EN to become Frauen. Tisch added an E and became Tische. And Fenster didn't add anything. It just became die, like all plural nouns do. So the big question is, how do you know what to add to nouns to make them plural? Unfortunately, the answer isn't very satisfying. You need to just plain learn and memorize the plural forms, or you need to look them up if you're encountering the word for the first time and aren't sure of its plural form. So, let's say you encountered a new word in the dictionary. How would you know what its plural form is? Words will be listed in their singular form, followed by a comma and dash with the ending. So to turn the word into its plural form, you change the ending and add the article die. Now, notice that Computer and Taschenrechner only have a comma and a dash, no other letters. So whereas die Frau adds an EN to become die Frauen, das Regal adds an I to become die Regale, der Tisch adds an I to become die Tische, das Auto adds an S to become die Autos. With Computer and Taschenrechner, you do not add any extra letters. But they will still become die words in the plural. In fact, that's the only way that you'll be able to tell that the word has become plural. Der Computer becomes die Computer and means the computers. Der Taschenrechner becomes die Taschenrechner and now means the calculators. Many words, however, don't just add letters to the end of the word. They add something to the word itself. When you see a noun listed with an umlaut over the dash, this means that the umlaut will be added to the A, O, or U closest to the end of the singular form word. If there's a combination vowel like AU in the word, the umlaut will go over the first one. So in Buch, the umlaut will go over the U. In man, it will go over the A. In laden, it will go on the A as well, because even though the E is closer to the end of the word, umlauts can't go on E's. And in mouse, the umlaut will go on the A, because they go over the first vowel of two vowels combining to make one sound. After you have the umlauts taken care of, you can also add the additional letters and change the article to D just like you would with the other nouns. So das Buch becomes die Bücher, der Mann becomes die Männer, der Laden becomes die Läden, die Maus becomes die Mäuse. And notice that there's a pronunciation change with those because of the umlaut. Now, let's discuss the plural nouns in context. For the purpose of comparison, we'll look first at some sentences where the nouns are singular. In other words, there's only one of these things. Now, let's use those same nouns in their plural forms. If you'd like, you can pause the video and see what differences you can spot once all the sentences have shown up. First of all, notice in the first sentence that das has become die. Buch is still a neuter noun, of course, but all plural nouns become die. Also notice that kostet from the singular sentence has become kosten. Das Buch was the subject of the first sentence, so kostet was conjugated to match. But now it's die Bücher, a plural noun, so the conjugation of kosten has to change to match that plural subject. In the second sentence, notice that ein Heft has become zwei Hefte. This could actually be any number there. You just can't say a. I have a notebooks doesn't work. In the third sentence, kostet has again become kosten because the subject went from singular to plural. Dein has also become deine. The possessive forms add e's before plural nouns. The same change happens in the fourth sentence, and ist has also changed to sind. Finally, we've eliminated the word eine from the last sentence on the left. I can't ask you if you have a sisters, so we just eliminate the indefinite article altogether. Now here are some hints that may help you use plural nouns. First of all, as usual, learn for mastery. While knowing the plural form of a word isn't quite as important as knowing its gender, it is still very important. Imagine going through life only using the singular forms of things. Furthermore, what better time to learn the plural ending than when you're learning the word for the first time? It will save having to go back and relearn old vocabulary. Secondly, look for context clues to tell you that new words are plural. Look for things like the verbs, and die and meine and deine being used with words that weren't originally feminine. Keeping your eyes out for these clues will really help you pick up on plural forms more easily. Now finally, let's review the absolute essentials of making nouns plural. To go from a noun's singular form to its plural form, change its article to die, add the appropriate ending to the noun, and add an umlaut to the correct vowel if that is part of the plural form, which it isn't always. Also, when using plural nouns in context, you may have to change verb conjugation or possessive forms to match them, so be careful of this. Lastly, it is really important to practice and memorize these plural forms. As you have seen, it's much more complex than English, so putting in the effort as you learn new words will serve you very, very well in the long run.